Yep. Hi, welcome back. It's Val and Roy. We're back with you guys again. Today we're going to do some flame working. Well, I mean, I'm not going to do anything other than probably run my mouth, but Val's going to be on the torch today making a glass pumpkin. So if you saw the sample that Kaylee sent out yesterday, if not, you can see a few of them here. These are little pumpkins that are made with Borosilicate glass. And Val's going to turn on the torch. She's working on a Carlisle. What?
Hellcat.
Hellcat. Thanks. I couldn't remember.
I know I like the name.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
If you have questions while we're going, feel free to message us, in the video section below, or you can always make a comment in the section below, or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. So, we're mic'd up, so hopefully you guys can hear us all right. We're getting a little feedback a little earlier, and that's why we started a little late.
Wow.
So we're gonna try to.
Maybe it's because I moved too much.
I don't know. Maybe we're wondering.
Okay. So first of all, what I did, I lit the torch. Now I've got a 12mm clear borosilicate rod, and what I'm basically doing is just trying to get a gather. So a pumpkin is a round shaped, as you saw. So that's really kind of what I'm trying to do, is just get enough of a round shape to start to be able to kind of carve out my pumpkin. So this part's kind of like watching paint dry. So it's just round and round and trying to get the ball on the end to gather. So
we're going to add a filter, so hopefully you guys can see a little bit better.
yeah. The soda ash in the glass creates this sort of orange flash of light that is around the glass, and it can be awfully bright and hard to see. So we're going to use that filter that filters out that spectrum of light so you can see past it.
Yeah, and Val is wearing the safety glasses that Val's wearing. I know you probably didn't see them, but they're tinted lenses. I already forgot the name of them already.
Didymium.
Didymium. I was going to say neodymium. That's not it. So they're didymium. That's the type of lens that Kaylee put in front of the camera. So hopefully you can see the glass a little bit better. As Val was mentioning, the bright glow from the soda flare sometimes makes it hard to see what's going on. So you're not, so Val's going to start out with kind of a ball shape, and you can see how the glass is just doing that in the flame. So you don't have to do anything special to have that happen, right, Val?
Not really. I'm kind of moving it a little bit as it melts, just so that I work down the rod a little bit so the gather can get bigger. But we're going to do this, and it does take a while. I mean, to get a gather, I'm trying to I kind of rush through it a little bit because, like I said, I know this isn't overly exciting for people. But when I get this just a little bit bigger, I'm going to put it in some frit, and that'll color it. So it's a combination of a couple colors that I put together. It's a Glass Alchemy Amazon Lagoon with a little bit of, what did I say I had? Purple luster. So it's kind of what I've used in the little pumpkin. The other pumpkin that Kayla's taken a picture of, it was North Star. And
so this one was North Star.
yeah.
And then this one that we posted yesterday was Glass Alchemy.
Right.
And what is the purple one? Or the orange one? Excuse me.
The orange one is just an orange opaque rod that I encased in clear, did a little twist, and then just made the basic pumpkin in.
And the stem, because that actually is what I'm reading as purple here. Do you remember what that one was?
The orange one?
Mm-hmm.
Really not remembering. That's kind of an old one, so I don't know.
So now what are you doing there, Val?
I am just letting a little heat come out so that it can stay on center, and then I'm going to kind of heat it up again. And I don't know, my thread is over here. Let me move it.
So really, it's just the heat and gravity that sort of shapes the round ball, right? So I mean,
basically.
I see you continually having to rotate the rod in your hand.
Right.
Right. So
Because it gets soft enough that if I just stop, the gravity will bend it over, and I don't really want that to happen. So even though I'm out, see how glowing it is? It's still moving. So I still am kind of turning it so that it doesn't completely get off center. And so I just, you know, put a little frit on there, put it back in the flame, maybe out there a little more.
Yeah, I see you working in different parts of the flame. Is there? I'm sure there's a reason for that.
Well, some of the colors sometimes tend to boil or bubble, and that can look a little scummy on the surface. So if I start out down here, which is typically my MO in the real hot part, and I notice something, I'll go back out and a little bit cooler so that I don't end up boiling things. So I'll probably do this a couple of times. And then we'll kind of start, I think we'll do what I said earlier. I think we'll go ahead and carve out our bottom first.
So how's this glass, how's the borosilicate glass different than like the 104 COE glass that we would use for bead making, or the 90 or 96 we use for fusing?
This is much harder, takes much more firepower to melt. So we always say that the higher the number, the softer the glass. So the 104 bead glass is the, you know, example is like the Moretti or the Italian rod, and it melts with a lot less heat. So that's why the hothead torch and less hot torch systems work really well for that. With this glass, you actually, it's 33, so it's way down away from the other coefficients. So it's requires a lot more firepower, and you couldn't melt this with that little hothead. So, which is one of the reasons it's kind of, it's good for sculptural type work because it is so stiff.
Okay, so we've got a couple questions coming in. Sharon asks, so you just dip the molten glass into the frit, no adhesive of any sort to help the powder stick?
Nope, it sticks because it's hot.
And Helena, that is frit that she is dipping into it, tested compatible with the Boro. So again, like she said, 33 COE.
Yep.
Yeah, it just happens to be a pretty fine frit. If you look at it, it's...
Yeah, it is a very fine. This one's a very fine. This was the one that I used for this one.
Oh, so a coarse
and
of frit.
you can tell, yeah, the more coarse, you can tell the pattern is sort of
So this
indicative of
powder frit that we've got here was what is on this guy. It almost gives a more uniform color coding to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the reasons for the type of frit we're using today is just because of time. I think you were saying, Val, wasn't that the
The more coarse takes longer to melt in.
Yeah.
So I'm just now heating a section and carving in to make the little ribs types for the pumpkin. So I carved in, is that me?
I don't know.
I carved in one side, I don't know if you can see it, and then I'm gonna actually go directly opposite. So this is a way to actually be consistent if you care. We actually talked about this the other day, and I don't think that all pumpkins do have consistent spacing between their, is that what they call them, ribs?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what you call them.
That's what I call them. Yeah, and I agree with you. They're, you know, I don't think they're even.
So anyway, this is like, I've just divided it into sort of fours. So 1, 2, 3. So then I'll go right across from that last one.
And then is that just a normal knife you're using, Val?
It's a normal Oneida. I don't really know where it came from.
So I also noticed that you're just heating one part of the round.
I'm trying to, you know, I don't want the whole thing to mush, which with the Boro isn't that big of a deal because it doesn't get that soft. But I am just sort of spot heating where I want to carve it into it. So
one thing I bet most people probably didn't notice, because it happened pretty quick without us commenting about it, but you made the flame smaller on this torch.
I
Right.
did. I took out the outer rings, which are the bigger, which is makes the flame bigger. And now I just have this smaller because you use the bigger flame when you want to really melt your mass. But now I'm being a little bit more strategic about where I want my fire, so it's easier to do with a smaller flame. So now what I want to do is I have to take this handle off, and then I have to get the color at the top. So basically, if I'm going to take this handle off, I have to put another handle on so I have something to hang on to it with while I finish it. So this is what they call a punty, and this is a punty that I'm going to want to be able to knock off without any real problem. So I'm trying to make what I call like a cold seal. So that's really not real stable. So once I take this off and I'm working from this, I have to be a little careful so that I don't bump it and have it drop. So I'm just going to concentrate my heat at the top of that pumpkin, just to be able to start to separate it.
Helena, this is borosilicate glass that Val is using for this particular project.
So, there's the top. Now the top doesn't have the color on it yet, so I'm going to tweezer this part up here. I don't know how well you can see it, is clear. There's where the color kind of stops. So I'm going to tweezer a little bit of that off, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that finished color to sort of blend it all together. I have my water. Makes that nice sound. So maybe just a teeny bit more. I want to leave it.
Sharon's got a question. She's noticing that you're working without gloves. Do the glass rods not transfer heat, is what she's wondering.
They do not. They are not a conductor of heat. So nothing gets hot unless it's been in the fire.
And over here, I don't know if you guys can see. So she's got a tool rest where she's putting her hot glass so she isn't picking it up from the hot end.
Yeah, that would be bad. So, like I said, I'm just trying to add a little frit to that area of clear where the handle was to blend it a little bit.
Please, you guys, don't ever feel like you're asking silly questions. We want to know what you're wondering, and we are more than happy to answer any and all questions.
Well, I have a question.
All right, Roy.
No
I
doubt.
guess you get one.
Okay, what? Hey, so you don't have to be concerned about thermal shock, putting it into the flame, directly into the flame and then taking it back out.
No, partly because of its expansion rate as being so low, it does make the glass have really different properties than, say, our normal fusible glass or our 104. And it doesn't really mind too much being, out of the flame for a little bit. You still have to be careful, but it's not near as important to keep everything warm. So, it's fine to let the heat come out. So in this case, I got the color around the top. Now I'm going to follow one of those grooves I've already done, and I'm going to just spot heat that area, and then I'm going to carry it a little further up. So that way it's taking it more to the top, which means when I come down through it, I don't have to go so far and hope I meet up. I've already got it almost to the top, so it makes it a little easier for me to meet up to it. So after I've done that, then I'm going to heat that, come back in, and then I can kind of finish that. And then I'll do the same to the others. And being careful, this is what I didn't do this morning. Supported on this.
Yeah, the concern is with the punty, right?
Yeah, my punty is very temporary, and if I muscle this too much, I'm going to knock it right off of there, and then it becomes sort of a chase the marble type situation.
Do you think it's a little bit more of a challenge because it is borosilicate glass, which is a little stiffer? I mean, with how the punty is attached? I'm not following your question. Well, the risk of knocking off the punty, do you think it's like trickier working with borosilicate because the glass is so stiff compared to...
You don't work so much with punties on soft glass. You're either on a mandrel or you're completely off mandrel. And so you really don't work that much with a punty type situation in soft glass anyway.
So Val, we've got a question. Someone is wondering how long heating the glass takes. In this instance, you're not blowing it, so this is just gathering the glass at the end to create your sculpture. But how long do you think it takes from start to finish?
Well, it kind of really just depends on how big of a gather you want and what kind of, well, you know, I went to the big flame to do it, so that made it go faster. You know, there's a lot of variables. You know, what have I been doing this 15 minutes, 20 minutes? And
About 15.
yeah, so, you know, that's kind of a hard thing to know for sure, but generally it would have taken me probably another 5 or 10 minutes if I hadn't gone to that bigger flame. It still would work. I mean, it still works okay. It just takes longer. You know, it's just you have that mass that you have to get penetrated with the heat, and the bigger you go, the longer it takes. So I don't know if that answered. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. But so now I've got this little guy. So he resembles a pumpkin. Now what I'm going to do is I've got my green. Did we tell them what one this is? Because I really like this one. Mystery Adventurine, North Star 78. I really like this one.
And I will go ahead, just like last week, or 2 weeks ago when we did our night lights, I will gather the list of products and give you guys a link so you can shop what Val is using today.
So I have that green. And I just melted it up there where I want the top to be.
And it looks like you've only got a little piece of green on some clear.
Yeah, I had a little piece that I just utilized by putting a clear handle on it, and then just making sure, you know, that I use it all up. So
No glass goes to waste.
yep. So it's the top of the stem. Sometimes I do this. Sometimes I mess around with them longer than I need to, but so there's your little stem, and then, you know, I like to put a little squiggle on them. I don't know, I like it. I think it's cute. It amuses me. So I'm going to pull a little bit of a thinner diameter, just a little bit. And then we'll see, probably here. So it is important, you know, to let heat come out before, you know, I got that attached pretty nicely. So now I let the glow go away, just so now I come in and have a chance to maybe melt that and stretch it without pulling it right off of what I just attached it to. I'm trying not to hit my stem too much. So when I pull this, I just sort of loop it around.
Well, you do make it look easy, that's for sure.
And then, you know, you just, you know, end it. You can, because I don't like the way that looks, which happens, so I'm going to melt it a little bit.
So Val, how long have you been doing this? How many years?
The Borosilicate's been less, so probably 12, 14, something like that. Years? I don't, yeah, something like that. So anyway, when you get it to the point and you know you're going to be done, then I'm on this temporary. So I'm hoping that the whole time I did this, I didn't actually heat too much down here in all my work, so that if I did, then that's going to be not temporary anymore, and then that'll be a little trickier to handle. So what I like to do is just find some place that it can't roll on me. And then I'm gonna lay it right down here and just kind of hit the clear rod. And then with these, which is not the most ideal thing to hold it with, but and what I want to do is see if I can't sort of get a hold of it and fire polish that little blemish that maybe I made when I just knocked it off. There's a little in there, but not too bad. So if I just give it a nice fire polish, hit it down on there, that should be good. And then I'm going to put it here in the annealer. So probably I will anneal this for maybe 20 minutes at 1050 is the annealing temperature for the Boro. So if you can get it in there without dropping it, let's see. I should have my assistant help me. So just setting in there. There, can you see?
And this is already on, it looks like.
It's on, it's up to temperature, so 20 minutes, 25 minutes is probably good, and it'll be done.
And we will go ahead and post the finished pumpkin today as well.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks, you guys.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.